You ever read or hear something that just stops you in your tracks? Something that seems to understand a problem so deeply, you just have to listen? Well, today, we're going to deconstruct a really powerful piece of messaging aimed at parents. We're going to treat it like a case study and really dig into how a compelling story is built, from that very first word all the way to the final pitch. So the narrative we're looking at kicks off with this 6-word sentence. And wow, it's an absolute masterclass in interrupting a pattern. See, for a parent who's struggling, the default label is usually something like lazy or defiant. This line just shatters that entire frame. It takes a simple behavioral issue and turns it into something much deeper, much more alarming: damage. It just grabs your attention and completely resets the emotional stage.
And that leads us right into the first part of this whole framework: diagnosing the chaos. The goal here isn't just to say, hey, here's a problem. It's to totally reframe it, to shift the focus from what the parent is seeing on the outside to what the child is supposedly experiencing on the inside.
Now, what's so clever about this is how it puts you, the parent, directly into the child's shoes. It doesn't just say he feels chaos. No, it says before his eyes, chaos, noise, resentment. This is a very deliberate technique. It's designed to build empathy and, yeah, maybe even a little bit of guilt. It's suggesting that you, the parent, have been fundamentally misunderstanding the entire situation.
And you can see it laid out so starkly here. On the left, you've got the parent's simple, frustrating perspective, defiance. But on the right, the narrative paints this picture of the child's reality, a deep internal crisis of despair, fear, and loneliness. By creating that huge gap, the message makes the parent feel like an outsider to their own child's pain, and that creates this powerful, urgent need to figure out what's really going on. And to really hammer this home, the source uses this incredibly vivid physical metaphor. The problem isn't just a feeling anymore, it's this external, unstoppable force. It just screams helplessness, right? It suggests the child is a victim of what's going on inside them, not the one causing the defiance. And that makes the whole situation feel way more serious and in need of some kind of urgent outside help.
Okay, so now we're moving into the next phase of the argument. In persuasive messaging, this is a classic formula: problem, agitate, solve. We've seen the problem. Now comes the agitate part. This is where you have to show the listener the grim future that's waiting for them if they don't do something. This is where the narrative paints a picture of that downward spiral. So, this is the real kicker here. The narrative takes the parent's own actions, a totally understandable reaction, like yelling out of frustration, and it reframes it as pouring gasoline on the fire. The message is crystal clear. Your old ways of trying to fix this are actually making everything worse. This just completely invalidates your current strategy and creates this desperate need for a new one.
And look, the threat isn't vague at all. It's laid out as this clear, predictable path of escalation. He'll shut down, then he'll hide in games, then he'll get weaker, until he's finally out of reach. This step-by-step decline makes the danger feel so concrete and, honestly, terrifyingly inevitable. You can almost hear the clock ticking.
Okay, so after establishing that problem and really agitating the consequences, the narrative finally pivots. We're at the solve part of the formula. This is the moment of hope. After breaking down the old way of thinking, the source brings in its solution, and it's not just a tip, it's a whole new strategy. And here's the big paradigm shift in a nutshell. The argument is that the goal was never really about demanding obedience. That's just dealing with the surface-level symptoms. The real solution, they claim, is to build the child's internal skills from the ground up. This makes their cure sound deeper, more meaningful, and way more permanent. And just look at the skills they're talking about here. It's not about do your homework. It's these powerful aspirational qualities: focus, strength, resilience, internal stability. By zeroing in on these core traits, the solution is promising a total transformation that goes way beyond better grades or a tidier room. Get this, they even give their main concept this unique, almost trademarked sounding name: internal stability. And notice how they explicitly say it's not motivation. It's something more profound, a transition to a different level. That kind of language creates a ton of intrigue and suggests you're about to get access to some higher level knowledge. Okay, so at this point you're hooked. You get the new problem, you're scared of what will happen if you do nothing, and you've just been shown this really compelling new solution. Now comes the final, most critical step: the pitch. Let's break down the psychology they use to get you to act right now. The ending hits you with this trifecta of classic persuasion triggers. First, a dead simple command, right, I'm coming. It removes all the friction. Second, scarcity. Spots may run out, which triggers that fear of missing out. And third, it links right back to that downward spiral. You can't wait any longer, making any hesitation feel like a truly catastrophic choice.
So, when you put all the pieces together, you see that the final call to action isn't just a request. It's the logical, emotional end of the entire journey they've taken you on. It's perfectly engineered to bypass any hesitation by making that next step feel simple, urgent, and absolutely necessary for the future of your broken child. It's just a masterclass in turning all that emotional weight into immediate action.
And all of this leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. This whole narrative works because it starts by reframing the problem from laziness to brokenness. It's a powerful reminder to ask ourselves, in any situation, parenting, business, our own lives, how does the way we frame a problem ultimately decide the kind of solution we're willing to accept?